You're watching Good Day Columbus on ABC6.
I've been here since the 1950s, and I've never seen anything like this.
Right now, a major cleanup happening on the east side. A lightning-fast tornado swept through our area, and no one was ready for it. The reason why a warning wasn't issued. And good morning to all of you. Thanks for joining us here on this Thursday, September 27th. I'm Jessica Ralston.
And I'm Rodney Dunnigan in for Kurt this morning. And of course, if you do live on the east side, you can expect to hear plenty of this today. That's right, the sound of chainsaws will be roaring in Columbus this morning. Neighbors on cleanup duty after that tornado suddenly tore through the east side yesterday morning.
That twister on the ground for nearly 4 miles.
And Mike McCarthy live this morning along Southampton Road with new information about what happens next. Mike.
And Rodney, we now know this morning where we are standing is where those winds were the strongest as that tornado touched down right around this time of the morning. You can see that some large trees fell here behind me. And check out what this tree landed on. As we zoom out, you'll see this tree crushed a house here on the east side of Columbus. And we have seen a couple of houses that look just like this one. But the real scope of the damage is kind of hard to show you here with our live pictures because it's still so dark at 6 a.m. So I want to show you some video from yesterday after the storm cleared out and the first day of cleanup really began. There is still a lot that has to be cleaned up today as that tornado left a path of destruction around 4 miles long. Winds as powerful as 90 miles an hour tore through this neighborhood, tearing down large trees like toothpicks, ripping roofs apart, crushing some homes, and even demolishing cinder block garages. The National Weather Service says this was an EF1 tornado. Families never heard a siren. They never knew what was coming their way, and you can bet it was a scary experience to endure.
The house started shaking. It only lasted maybe 20 or 30 seconds. And then it was over, and then we just wreaked havoc all over everywhere.
Things started blowing off the kitchen counter and breaking and hitting the floor, and so we ran around closing windows, and that's when we saw the tree kind of come up out of the ground and into the street.
Utility crews had a long day yesterday with a lot of downed power poles and lines as well. That work will continue today as well. AEP says as many as 6,000 customers lost power at one point yesterday. A lot of people wondering why the sirens never went on. The Franklin County Emergency Management Agency told us that those sirens never were initiated because the National Weather Service never initiated a tornado warning. As we come back out here live right now, despite all the damage that's out here and the limbs that are littering so many yards here on the east side, we can tell you this morning that there were no reports of anyone being hurt, and that is something that families out here say is both remarkable and wonderful. A lot of people, Rodney and Jessica, relieved that despite all this damage, no one got hurt. Guys, back to you.
Pretty incredible, absolutely.
Yeah,
Mike McCarthy, they're live in East Columbus this morning. Well, there's nearly 200 tornado sirens in Franklin County, but folks who live in the affected areas, they did not hear them yesterday because they were never activated.
Now, County Emergency Management says the sirens were not activated because the National Weather Service, of course, did not issue that warning. Now, we have a very good system right here in Columbus, but sometimes Mother Nature is able to get one past it. This tornado formed and simply dropped out of the crowd so quickly that the radar did not have a chance to see it in time. But there's actually another reason. Buck joining us now to break it all down. This is pretty interesting, huh?
Yeah, so actually Franklin County, last check, has more tornado sirens in one county than any other county in the United States.
Wow.
But what happened is as we know, it fired up very quickly. This tornado was very shallow. It was only there for a few minutes and out. There wasn't a lot of rotation with it prolonged.
Right, you would have seen it if there was rotation.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it fired up so quickly,
Yeah.
but the problem is the rotation was so shallow and it didn't last very long, and there was a communications issue from one of the radar sites sending out the data.
Well, it's amazing with that issue, with the fact that we had so much damage. I mean, the fact that no one was hurt. I mean, that's the blessing in all of this.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Huge blessing that no one was injured from this. But I want to show you here and kind of break it down for you in a little bit more detail. So this is the radar from yesterday morning from 5:40 to 6 a.m. And you can see the storms racing their way across. And we have a handful of radars that we can access in the First Warning Weather Center. One of the closest ones is out here in Pataskala. And I also want to let you know, radars normally scan up into the air, obviously, to see what's going on. and they scan at their lowest tilt about 1.5 degrees above the horizon. It's not very much, but it's a key factor in what's coming up. So here are the storms yesterday morning firing up. There's the tornado between Bexley and Whitehall moving out to the east. And once it moved past 270, it was done and gone. So very quick yesterday, but I want to back things up and actually tilt this up some. So we have the radar site that's in Wilmington. The closest, though, is out here in Pataskala. 5:53 was the last time we heard from Pataskala, but there was no rotation yet. That radar went offline, no radar information coming from them, and the rotation was so shallow, the Wilmington radar was overshooting the rotation that was so shallow. By the time it came back online at 6:02, the storm already racing past 270, rotation was gone. So that's the reason there was no warning, but again, thankfully, no one was injured with yesterday's storm. But boy, what a mess to clean up. Right now, we're waking up to a very chilly morning. A lot of us in the low 50s, fairly cloudy skies, and a little bit of rain trying to sneak in here. Right now it's south of St. Louis, and it'll be moving in for the afternoon, especially south of Columbus. 67 for the high today. We'll break down your weekend forecast hour by hour coming up. Right now, let's get a check of your roads with Katie.